Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why some people seem to read super fast and get everything, while others struggle, or why the same book can feel different depending on who is reading it? Well, today we're diving into a fascinating study that explores exactly that, how reliably we can measure individual differences in reading. This paper is all about a tricky question in psychology. When we study how people read differently, how sure can we be that what we're measuring is real and not just a fluke? Think of it like trying to measure someone's height. If you measure them once with a crooked ruler, you might get a slightly off number. If you measure them again with a different wobbly ruler, you might get another different number. How do you know their true height? This research asks a similar question about reading. The scientists noticed that different studies on individual differences in reading were getting wildly different results about how reliable these differences are. Sometimes a reading effect was super consistent from one person to another, and sometimes it wasn't at all. This is a big problem because if we can't reliably measure how people differ in their reading, we can't really figure out why they differ. Are they just better or worse readers overall? Or do they struggle with specific types of words or sentences? So their big question was, how can we actually measure these individual differences in reading reliably? They suspected that it wasn't just that some reading effects are inherently unreliable. Instead, they thought that how we measure reliability is super important, and it is shaped by things like how many words we show people, how many people we test, and even the kinds of words we use. Now, don't let this equation scare you. This is basically a way of saying that when someone reads a word, their reading time, that is Jäger, is influenced by a general pattern, that is I, and a specific effect of that word, that is Jäger. But there is always some random noise or error in there too, that is 2. The important part here is I, which represents how much a specific word characteristic affects how long someone reads that word. We want to know if this I is consistent for each person across different times or situations. This rather long equation shows us why reliability estimates can be misleading. It says that the reliability we measure, R, is not the true underlying reliability. It is like looking at a funhouse mirror. The measured reliability is actually the true reliability multiplied by a factor that depends on things like the amount of measurement error 2, the number of words or trials J, and how varied the words are 2x. So even if people truly have stable differences in how they read, our measurements might make those differences look less reliable than they really are. This is called attenuation, and it is a big reason why studies can disagree. Scroll figure 1, A shows the recovery ratio RR as a function of trial size for 2x1 and different signal, noise ratios and R levels with A to 122 and B to 122 in 2 parallel experiments. Scroll this figure is super important because it shows us how to get a better picture of true reliability. It is talking about a recovery ratio. Imagine you have a true value and you measure it, but your measurement is a bit fuzzy. The recovery ratio tells you how much of that original true value you actually get back in your measurement. The graph shows that the more words or trials you give people to read, that is the trial size on the bottom. The better you recover, the true reliability. This is especially true if the signal of the reading effect is strong compared to the noise, that is the SNR. So more data is generally better for getting a reliable estimate. This equation is about confidence. When scientists measure something, they don't just give a single number, they also give a range, a confidence interval. This equation shows how the width of that range, how sure they are about their estimate, depends on the number of people they tested, that is I. The more people you test, the narrower that range gets, meaning you are more confident in your estimate. But here is the catch. If your measurement is already unreliable due to other factors, having more people might just make you more confidently wrong. It is like being super confident about the wrong answer because you asked a lot of people who all got the same wrong answer. The researchers tried to correct for the unreliability they saw, like trying to fix a distorted photo. They found that while these correction methods helped a bit, they weren't perfect. They had their own problems, especially with interpreting the certainty of the results. This led them to explore a more advanced approach using Bayesian two-task hierarchical models. This is where the real magic happens in their proposed solution. Instead of looking at 2 experiments separately and then trying to compare them, they created a single, more complex model. This model looks at all the data from both experiments at once. It is like building a single, very detailed map that shows all the terrain from 2 different aerial photos simultaneously. This figure is a visual showdown of different ways to measure reliability. On the left, you have the true reliability they put into their simulated data. Then, for each method, you see how well it estimated that true reliability, with those bars showing their confidence. The joint modal latent core. That is, their preferred method is the one that sticks closest to the true line across the board. Other methods either consistently underestimated like the indiv regression core, or overestimated like the joint model BLUP core, the true reliability. This next figure shows their favorite method in action, but this time using real data panel A shows what happens as you give people more words to read. The estimates get better and more precise, and those error bars get smaller. Panel B shows what happens as you test more people. Again, the estimates get better. This is great news. It means we can actually improve our measurement of reading differences by giving people more text or testing more people. This is a key takeaway. Reliability isn't just about the words you choose or the task itself. It is a combination of everything. The quality of your measurement, how much signal versus noise you have, how many words you show each person, how many people you test, and the variety in your words. All these things work together. This figure shows us the practical impact of those design choices. See how for things like lexical frequency and surprisal, which are basically how common or expected a word is, the reliability estimate really jumps up as you increase the number of words read J, the number of people tested I, or the signal, to noise ratio gamma. This means that if you want to reliably measure how people differ in their response to less common words, you need to use good designs with lots of data and high-quality stimuli. The researchers point out that some things are easier to change than others. You can plan ahead to include more words or make sure your words are varied. But task quality, which is about how clear the reading signal is above the background noise, is harder to control directly. You often only find out how good it is after you've collected the data. This is the punchline about comparing how they measured reliability. They compared a bunch of methods, and their preferred joint model latent correlation method consistently gave the most balanced and accurate estimates. Other methods either tended to underestimate or overestimate the reliability. The advantage of their method is that it is not a two-step process. It estimates everything together in one go, giving a more honest picture of both the reliability and how certain we are about it. So, to wrap it all up, this study is a really important step in understanding how we can actually study individual differences in reading. They've shown us that reliability isn't just a fixed property of a word or a person, it is something we can influence through how we design our experiments. Their main message is that if you see low reliability in studies of individual reading differences, it doesn't automatically mean those differences aren't real. It could just mean the measurement wasn't good enough. Low reliability can be caused by too much random noise, not enough words for people to read, or not enough variety in the words used. The number of people tested mainly affects how sure we are about the estimate, not necessarily its accuracy. This is a crucial point for anyone studying cognitive abilities. If you're trying to link reading ability to something like working memory or intelligence, and you find a weak link, it might not be because working memory doesn't affect reading. It could be that you are just not measuring the reading effect reliably enough to see the true relationship. The paper also highlights that reliability is a measure of how stable these individual reading differences are. Do people who are slow readers on one day tend to be slow readers on another day? Do they show the same pattern across different types of reading tasks? Reliability helps answer these questions. Think of reliability as a health check for your measurements. Before you can confidently say that reading differences relate to, say, personality, you need to make sure your reading measurements are healthy and reliable. This study gives us a framework for doing just that. This is perhaps the most practical takeaway. If you are designing a study on individual differences in reading, this paper tells you exactly what to focus on. If you want good reliability, you need more trials, more words for people to read, more varied stimuli, words that differ in length, frequency, etc., and a good signal too. Noise ratio, you can then add more participants to increase your confidence in those estimates. So, what do you think? Does this help explain why some studies find stable individual differences and others don't? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more deep dives into the fascinating world of psychology. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.